What's the most desperate thing you've ever encountered? 3 years ago, I was framed and sent to prison by my ex-husband and best friend. In court, my beloved husband Mark sacrificed family for justice, testifying against me for something I never did. And my best friend Brenda, with tears streaming down her face, painfully accused me of fabricated crimes. My direct supervisor chose to protect himself, shirking all responsibility. I went from confusion to anger to despair. It turned out I had fallen, step by step, into the trap set for me by Mark and Brenda. The chain of evidence was complete. Although the document used as evidence was handed to me by Brenda, no one could prove it. Although the embezzled funds were used to buy a Hermes bag, gifted to me by Mark, no one could prove that either. All the evidence pointed to me. This court pronounces the defendant Ava guilty of embezzlement. Sentenced to 3 years and 8 months in prison. I dug my nails into my flesh, almost gritting my teeth as I roared. I am not convinced I will appeal. On the 6th day after the verdict, I received Mark's divorce papers. I wasn't surprised that he would file for divorce, but I was shocked that he had secretly transferred the assets. Apart from a prenuptial agreement for a house, I got nothing. I worked tirelessly for 13 years, only to have everything ruthlessly taken away by these two scumbags. My career, my best years, my confidence, all turned to ashes. In the 3rd month of my imprisonment, Mark and Brenda got married. In the 5th month of my imprisonment, Brenda gave birth to a big, healthy boy. I finally understood that the reason they rushed to send me to prison was because Brenda's belly couldn't wait any longer. You only have a prenuptial apartment left. Are you still going to appeal? I shook my head. Appealing, waiting for the verdict, was a long road for me alone. The facts proved that the bad guys were still at large, living happily. From that day on, I never mentioned appealing again, but instead worked hard to earn a reduced sentence. In my first year and 3 months of imprisonment, Mark became the investment department manager, sitting in my former office. But without me, he was just an insignificant salesman, who wouldn't even have stepped foot in the headquarters. In my 2nd year of imprisonment, Brenda jumped from a level 7 employee to assistant manager of the investment department, achieving a 3-level leap, but she didn't even know how to use Excel. They stepped on me, took everything that should have been mine, and lived a happy life. Madam, we're here. A sudden stop pulled me out of my memories. I looked up, gazing at the 4 words Dongqing Group on the skyscraper, and slowly curled the corners of my mouth. Ava, am back. My coffee shop is located downstairs from my former company, so that the cheating couple can see me every day. I worked at this company for 10 years, and I have many friends, some of whom I even helped, so they all came to support my business. But my former best friend Brenda obviously couldn't stand seeing me doing well. Oh my, it's so bitter, you've over-roasted the beans. Oh my, sour. Your hand drip is no good. Oh my, it smells awful. The quality of your beans is too poor. The clerk Tina glared at Brenda with gritted teeth. If you can't appreciate it, don't drink it. Tina's words were predictably met with a new wave of mockery. Oh my, is this your customer service attitude? She even called out to the people around to watch the show. Come and see, this is how they treat customers. Seeing Tina so angry that she wanted to fight, I quickly held her back. Please make Miss Brenda a new cup. Brenda's punch landed on cotton, making her even more angry. When Tina, suppressing her anger, handed her the coffee, she unceremoniously slapped it away. Trash coffee, I won't drink it. Tina couldn't control her temper and roared. Are you sick in the head? Brenda immediately seized the opportunity, raising her voice. Oh my, can't I say your coffee is bad? What? Are you going to hit me? Tina couldn't bear it anymore, threw down her apron directly and roared. I can't take it anymore. With that, she stepped over the counter and charged straight at Brenda. I rushed to stop her, but the apron strings got caught on the corner of the table. By the time I took off the apron and rushed out to break up the fight, both sides of Brenda's face had each been slapped once, turning red. Brenda cried and covered her face, shouting hysterically, I'm going to report you. I'm going to call the police. I hurriedly bowed to Brenda to apologize. Ms. Brenda, it was indeed our fault today. How about your coffee from now on? Who cares? Before I could finish, Brenda grabbed someone else's coffee at random and poured it over my head. A few minutes later, at the police station, Brenda was aggressive, turning a deaf ear to the police's mediation. "Your store must close. I can't take these 2 slaps for nothing." The police frowned at me. I could only sob helplessly. "Officer, we have already apologized." I hurriedly pulled Brenda and begged for mercy. You let me go, okay? I only have this store." The corners of Brenda's mouth lifted in a victorious smile. Who knows if someone with a criminal record is poisoning the coffee? The police officer responsible for mediation frowned even deeper. After all, Brenda today is glamorous, bossy. And I, a former convict, dressed plainly, my hair and body soaked in coffee. Even passing a mirror, I have to sigh at my pathetic appearance. "Boss, I'll take full responsibility, you fire me." Tina crossed her arms, glaring at Brenda. "I was the one who hit you, you can settle the score with me." Brenda wanted to say more, but was stopped by the police. "Miss Chun, it's best to be lenient wherever possible." Brenda snorted coldly. "Lenient? Okay." As she spoke, she stepped forward and slapped me heavily in the face. In the end, under the sympathetic gaze of everyone in the police station, I covered my face and chose to forgive Brenda. By the time we came out of the police station, it was already dark. As soon as Brenda walked out, her face didn't hurt anymore, and her heart wasn't hurting either. Instead, she showed me her victorious smile again. "Ava, I advise you to move out as soon as possible, otherwise, what happened today is just the beginning." I looked at her still flushed cheeks and couldn't help but find it a little funny. "Brenda, is it because even after sitting in jail for 3 years, I'm still living better than you, that you hate me so much?" Brenda's eyes flashed, obviously provoked by my words, but she didn't show it on her face. "Ava, don't be ridiculous. You're living better than me? Look at yourself. Besides this coffee shop that can't make much money, what else do you have left?" I looked at her with contempt and said coldly, "Oh, then I understand. You can't wait to drive me away, because you're afraid that what you and Mark framed me for will be found out." Brenda could no longer hide her emotions, and her face changed drastically. "What nonsense are you talking about? It was clearly you who embezzled back then." Brenda pointed at me, unable to think of words for a long time, seemingly afraid of being caught by me. Finally, she could only say fiercely, "Just you wait." Then she fled again in a panic. 10 minutes later, in a dark alley, Tina looked at her payment record, and her mouth was grinning from ear to ear. "Sis generous. Remember to call me for this kind of work in the future." "I hope it's gone." Tina laughed. "You only mentioned it once, and that woman was so scared. She's obviously no match for you," she said with some confusion. "How could you have been tricked by someone like that back then?" My eyes dimmed, remembering my former self. At that time, Brenda was always around me, calling me Xiaoyu all the time. But no matter how shrewd I was, I couldn't defend against the trap set for me by the 2 people closest to me. I watched Tina leave, and couldn't help clenching my fists. No one would know that what happened today was just the opening act of my revenge plan. Suddenly, a soft laugh came from behind, my body stiffened, and I quickly turned to look at the depths of the alley. Ooh. The sound of high heels became gradually clearer. A familiar face appeared in front of me. Miss Victoria. I couldn't help but feel a tightness in my heart, wondering how much this person had heard. Victoria walked towards me, clapping her hands as if she was cheering. "It really is a good show." She was just like she was 3 years ago, with exquisite makeup and an arrogant aura. "What are you doing here?" Victoria slowly took out a cigarette and handed it to me. I waved my hand at her. "Been sober for 3 years, kicked the habit long ago." She seemed to sense my wariness. Taking out a lighter, she lit a cigarette for herself. "Don't misunderstand, I have no malicious intent. I happened to be in the company lobby earlier and witnessed a farce, so I was curious about the ending and came to take a look." "A high-ranking group vice president, so free?" She ignored my question, merely exhaling a smoke ring, her face wearing a half-smiling expression. "Ava, I've known you for 10 years. You know I'm not one to meddle in other people's business." Indeed, Victoria was known for her iron face, never discussing anything other than business. Gossip was even more out of the question. I think you should understand that to deal with your enemies, relying on these little tricks is not enough. Ms. Victoria, I don't understand what you mean. Victoria hooked her lips into a smile and said, I can be your backing. Although my plan was perfect enough, I wouldn't mind having extra security. However, I couldn't trust Victoria. To be precise, since 3 years ago, I would no longer easily trust anyone. I'm not planning revenge. I thought my acting skills were good enough. But Victoria raised an eyebrow and laughed. You don't need to be defensive with me. I have the sincerity to cooperate, or else, what do you think made it possible for you to open a shop in the group's lobby? My heart sank. No wonder. The lease was signed so smoothly. I looked at Victoria, unable to find a reason for her to help me. So what do I need to do? The general manager is retiring. I instantly understood that after the general manager retired, the most likely candidates to take over would be Victoria and Mr. Duncan. You want me to help you take Mr. Duncan down? Unwilling. I laughed. More than willing. Because Mr. Duncan was originally on my revenge list. If it weren't for him choosing to protect himself back then, washing his hands of the responsibility, I wouldn't have been sentenced to 3 years. Dragging him down was a simple matter, so of course I was happy to do it. What are you planning to do next? I shrugged. Wait for the prey to deliver themselves to my door. Sure enough, Brenda kept her word. The next day she came again. Ava, what are you trying to do by opening a shop here? My hands didn't stop packaging the coffee. I didn't even bother to look up at her. Working, making money. And also looking after you and Mark, by the way. I said coldly. After all, that generous gift you gave me 3 years ago, I'll have to repay you sooner or later. Brenda's expression instantly changed. She didn't expect me to be so direct. You're finally showing your true colors. I didn't plan on hiding them. Her body visibly trembled, but she soon sneered. Right now, you're just a coffee maker. What can you do to fight us? I looked up at her and laughed. After being friends for so many years, you should know me. I wouldn't show up here without being absolutely sure. Brenda was really panicking now. She pursed her lips, keeping her voice very low. Stop bluffing me, she threatened. I advise you to move your shop somewhere else, otherwise. I shouted in surprise. Why should I move my shop? This shout attracted the attention of many people. Brenda looked at the gazes from the people around her, feeling somewhat flustered. She grabbed my arm, her voice filled with coldness. Ava, I could send you in 3 years ago, and I can do it now too. Everyone, including the people passing by in the lobby, focused their attention on us. Brenda looked at the microphone on my body. Her expression instantly dropped to freezing point. You did this on purpose? She yanked out the power cord of the lavalier microphone on my body, grabbing my arm tightly, wishing she could tear me apart directly. I shook my head in panic. I was just about to call customers to pick up their orders. I pulled my arm away in a panic, trembling all over, retreating step by step. Brenda, wasn't what you and Mark did to me 3 years ago enough? Now I just want to start over. Why won't you let me go? Ava, what are you talking about? Shut up. Brenda frantically tried to cover my mouth. I dodged anxiously, lost my balance, stumbled a few steps, and fell directly to the ground. My nose felt sour, and tears fell in large drops. Victoria happened to pass by, looked at the scene and frowned. How arrogant. Although her voice wasn't loud, and she left after saying that. But her comment was like a fuse, instantly exploding the crowd of onlookers. Those who had only dared to watch from the sidelines before finally mustered the courage after Ms. Victoria's casual comment. That's too much. First time seeing such an arrogant mistress. She'll keep it down. The voices of the people around were getting louder and louder. Brenda could only pick up her coffee and leave shamefully in the midst of condemning gazes. Ava, don't be sad. That's right, don't be afraid of that cheating couple, we'll support you. Some people comforted me, some people handed me tissues. Some people even treated the entire department to coffee in support of me. I thanked them one by one. I brushed the dust off my body, revealing a smile that pretended to be strong. Don't worry everyone, I'll hang in there. I wiped away my tears, washed my hands, and prepared to continue working. Boss, that woman is back. I glanced at the elevator entrance and couldn't help but curl my lips. I knew Brenda would definitely be back, but I didn't expect it to be so soon. So soon that the tears on my face hadn't even dried yet. Brenda had suffered a loss at my place just now, so now she was even more prepared to get her face back properly. Looking around, her eyes filled with disdain. She strode proudly on her high heels and slammed the coffee in her hand in front of me. Everyone come and see. There's actually a cockroach in the coffee. Brenda deliberately raised her voice, afraid that others wouldn't know. So disgusting. Ava, with this kind of hygiene conditions, what are you even opening a shop for? The people around looked at us with curious eyes. Those who were only watching the excitement from the periphery just now also gathered around. Miss, you're making false accusations. The shop assistant glared at Brenda indignantly. Our boss pays the most attention to hygiene. Humph. Brenda sneered and poured out all the coffee in the cup directly, and flowing out with the coffee was a dead cockroach. Ugh, how disgusting. Ugh, I just drank coffee from this place. The discussions grew louder and louder, and the shop assistant's face changed. He pointed at the work table angrily and shouted, "Look at our work table, it's spotless, how could there be cockroaches?" Brenda snorted coldly, and seeing someone around holding up a phone, she immediately became even more energetic. Now the evidence is right here, are you still going to quibble? The people around pointed and pointed. No matter how my shop assistants explained, in the eyes of others, it was all quibbling. Their faces were flushed red. Brenda looked at the people around pointing fingers at me, and a triumphant smile immediately spread across her face. My nose felt sour, and tears welled up again. I shouted in a trembling voice, "Brenda, that's enough. There has to be a limit to harming people." Brenda looked at me with a victor's smile, her eyes looking at me like a jumping clown. "Ava, I'm the one who drank coffee with a cockroach in it. Why are you pretending to be pitiful here?" I clenched my fists tightly, biting my lips hard enough to draw blood. I glared at Brenda and questioned her in a trembling voice. "May I ask, Ms. Brenda, where do cockroaches come from in northern China in the middle of winter?" Not only Brenda, but everyone present was stunned. Brenda strained her neck, her voice sharp. Our company is so warm, maybe there are some." I wiped away my tears and, in front of everyone, brought over the cockroach traps scattered in several corners of the coffee shop. "Everyone can take a look." Everyone frowned when they saw the cockroach traps. Although there are generally no cockroaches in the north, we still took precautions just in case. "Look, there aren't any," the shop assistant echoed, and snorted coldly at Brenda. "Do you have to use such despicable means to try to scam our boss?" The gazes of the people around Brenda changed. Brenda hadn't expected things to turn around like this and panicked immediately. That might also be something you deliberately prepared, just to disgust me." As she was saying this, she heard a roar from the side. "Who called the police?" The police officer from the station came over, and frowned again when he saw it was the two of us again. Brenda, as if seeing a savior, grabbed the policeman's arm. "You guys come and take care of this. I found a cockroach in my food here, and they won't admit it." I slowly straightened my clothes, wiping away my tears, and apologized to the police officer. "I'm sorry to trouble you, but there's really no way our store could have cockroaches." The police officer frowned, annoyed. "This is winter, where would cockroaches come from?" Brenda's face stiffened. Some righteous people around couldn't stand it anymore and pointed at Brenda, saying, "Enough! Is Ava opening a store here bothering you? You come looking for trouble every other day. You've already stolen someone's husband. What more do you want? Now you've directed and acted in such a scene yourself, aren't you ashamed?" "That's right, we've all been watching what you've been doing these past few days. There should be a limit to bullying people." "A mistress, what's there to be arrogant about?" Brenda was exposed and immediately turned red in the face. You actually believe someone who's been in jail, and you don't want to believe me." After she said this, the police officer looked a little displeased. "This lady, people who have completed their reformation have the chance to start over. No one is superior to anyone else." Brenda still wanted to explain, but the police officer told everyone to disperse, and finally warned, I told you last time, give people a break when you can. The people around pointed and whispered about Brenda, and some took videos, preparing to upload them to the internet. I quickly bowed to everyone to apologize. Please don't spread what happened today. I don't want to. Don't want to implicate the group's reputation. And what if the leaders find out? I glanced at Brenda, revealing an expression of reluctance. Everyone around was moved. You're not the one causing trouble. Ms. Brenda, look at her. And look at you. Humph, a mistress is a mistress, no class. The dispersing crowd was still filled with accusations against Brenda. Brenda stared at me stiffly, her eyes full of hatred. Ava, it's you. I glanced around and curled up the corners of my mouth. That's right, it's me. I put the cockroach there. TSK, I specifically asked a friend to catch it on the train. It wasn't easy. Brenda's eyes widened instantly. You admit it. Yes, I admit it, but no one will believe it. They'll only think you forced me to. I didn't even bother to look up at her. Ava, there are cameras everywhere here. Believe it or not, I'll. What will you do? Oh dear, Miss. Brenda wants to check the surveillance footage. I covered my mouth, looking panicked. Brenda immediately became smug. Are you scared now? Oh, am I so scared? The corners of my mouth slowly rose, and I looked at Brenda with interest. Ms. Brenda, why don't you guess why I chose today? Brenda's face stiffened and I chuckled. Because the system is under maintenance today, Ms. Brenda. Brenda's face was ashen. She looked at me, her eyes changing from hatred to fear. Miss Brenda, how does it feel to be falsely accused? Isn't it impossible to defend yourself? Brenda spoke again, her voice trembling. Ava. You're ruthless. Oh, you're scared now. I looked up at her, my eyes full of contempt. Brenda, this is just the beginning. Brenda almost fled from my coffee shop. No one knew what I said to her at the end, but after that day, our shop returned to peace. Until a week later, my ex-husband Mark appeared. That day, Mark rushed back from another city, looking weary from his journey. He was almost 40 and a small leader. A beer belly, a receding hairline. He had all the greasy characteristics of a middle-aged man. Looking at him like this, I couldn't understand how I could have been so blind before. I met Mark's eyes and found that he seemed very surprised. After all, in the 3 years I was in prison, I lost 8 kilograms. Compared to before, when I was working overtime and doing housework, leading to exhaustion and obesity, I now had delicate makeup and a well-proportioned figure. Some of the new employees who had recently joined even couldn't help but peek at me when buying coffee. He was looking at a completely different person from the ex-wife he remembered. Chat. Mark leaned closer to me, his voice very low. Although it was working hours, there were almost no people in the store, but he was still afraid that someone would pass by. I have nothing to talk to you about. Mark's face darkened, and he was still preparing to use the old tricks to deal with me. Ava, why didn't you tell me when you got out? I raised my eyes and sneered. Tell you? So you could prepare in advance and send me back in. Mark's face stiffened, and his voice turned cold. Ava, everyone here knows you have a criminal record. Aren't you ashamed? Criminal record? Are you talking about the one that you and Brenda framed me for? Mark was taken aback. The moment I heard footsteps, my eyes turned red. Mark, I'm here, are you afraid? I sneered, looking at him venomously. I want to be here, so you can see me every day. Mark frowned, and once again used a condescending attitude. Ava, don't push your luck. I could send you in 3 years ago, and naturally I can again. His words stuck in his throat, because at this moment the chairman and Ms. Victoria were standing in the hall, looking at us in surprise. The chairman glared at Mark and said coldly, Little Zhang, you're a mid-level cadre at least, watch your words. Mark opened his mouth in a daze, and immediately put on the face of a sycophant. Chairman, you're going out? I'll open the door for you. Mark was warned by the leader during the day, so he specially chose to come to me before closing time. When even the clerks had left, I wiped the table and asked casually, Mr. Mark, something up? Did you deliberately embarrass me? I curled up the corners of my mouth, non-committal. Mark, you can only get to where you are by sucking up to people. Mark was angered by my words and almost roared through his teeth. You wait, Ava. I'll make you get out sooner or later. I sneered, looked at him, and tilted my head in surprise. Why not look forward to who gets out first? Mark's eyebrows trembled. I was too familiar with this look. He would look like this whenever he was unsure. He looked like this when he questioned my decisions in the past. He looked like this when he criticized my cooking. He also looked like this when his mother complained that I couldn't give birth to children. Ava, I don't know what you're planning, but... I interrupted his threatening words and chuckled. Mark, why don't you guess again? Why am I so confident? His face stiffened, and his eyes showed vigilance. I slowly took out my phone and zoomed in on a screenshot. Last year, you know why you provided a guarantee to this company. Fear gradually filled Mark's eyes. I put the phone back in my apron pocket and continued wiping the table. Actually, this company approached me a few years ago, but their qualifications, TSK, to be honest, even if you gave me 10 lifetimes, I wouldn't dare to guarantee them. Mark, you're really risking your life for money. How did you get this? Mark, people pursue profit, don't you think? Mark's face was ashen. He didn't even bother to threaten me and stormed out. Half an hour later, a strange voice came through the headset. Brother Zhang, how can you doubt me? If I told someone else about this, wouldn't I have to go in too? Wait. Is she talking about insider trading, or the guarantee? I couldn't help but twitch my eyebrows. There was actually a surprise. Guarantee. But I did see the chat screenshots between you. Impossible. Would I tell her I bribed you? Wouldn't that be suicide? The corners of my mouth curled up. That was the sentence I was waiting for. Wait. Brother Zhang, is she tricking you? Then I heard the person in the headset ask in surprise. Brother, what's flashing in your pocket? Not good. We've been tricked. It seemed that my recorder had been discovered. But this content was enough to send Mark in. I took off my earphones and happily exported the recording, sending it to the disciplinary inspection email. I also sent the evidence I had collected during this period. Although this evidence couldn't convict Mark, it could provide a lot of clues for investigating him. And the chat screenshot that scared Mark was just a simple Photoshop. Anyone who looked closely would find flaws. But I was sure that Mark would fall for it, because he had a guilty conscience. Let them meet and get the recording. That's my ultimate goal. Got it. Victoria's message came back quickly. Okay. Du and I are preparing to see the board of directors with the chairman. Thanks to your 500 million. I'm in the C position now. I couldn't help but laugh. I didn't expect Victoria, such a cold person, to be so talkative when sending WeChat messages. Keep up the good work. Mark's here. I'll deal with him first. I watched the person storming in, full of anger. I didn't expect him to find me so quickly. Resting my chin in my hand, watching his entire face twist and distort, I felt incredibly satisfied. Ava! Mark roared. You think you can take me down with a recording like this? He slammed the recorder on the ground and smashed it to pieces with a chair he picked up nearby. TSK, that thing cost me 3,000. Mark froze, not understanding what I meant. It's more expensive than other recorders precisely because it has a real-time cloud function, isn't it? I smirked, looked at Mark and laughed. So no matter how many times you smash it, it won't work. Mark's lips trembled, his face changing from rage to despair. Ava. I beg you, delete the recording. I calmly packed my things, letting the person opposite me use both soft and hard tactics. Ava, don't force me. I raised my eyes, a little surprised. What's this? Mr. Mark, are you going to silence me? You think I wouldn't dare? Mark, cornered like a rabid dog, grabbed my neck. Mark. You can't get away with it if you kill me. Mark didn't seem to hear, tightening his grip. So eager to silence me. Looks like what you embezzled is enough for at least 20 years. Did Brenda participate? Shut up. Mark's eyes were bloodshot. As long as I kill you, no one will know. No one will know. Bang! With a loud noise, Mark's eyes rolled back, and he fell without even having time to look back. I coughed desperately, looking at the person behind Mark. Shocked for a long time. I couldn't recover. Victoria slowly put down the chair in her hand. The red dress covered her fair feet. She ran here barefoot. I opened my mouth, but I didn't know what to say. I really didn't expect her to come and save me. I thought something was wrong when you said Mark was coming over. Victoria leaned against the glass wall, calmly dialing a phone number. Luckily, the banquet venue isn't far away. Miss Victoria, today is your big day. You shouldn't have come. Victoria's absence was equivalent to handing the opportunity she had within reach to Mr. Duncan. She frowned and didn't answer me but continued. There are many ways to get revenge. There's no need to risk your own life. I have a backup plan. Your backup plan is useless if you're dead. Once a person dies, everything is gone. Her expression was still cold, but her words carried anger. She was really angry. However, I really did have a backup plan. As long as I pressed the button behind me, the store's networked alarm system would be activated. But at this moment, looking at Victoria, seeing her take out a pack of cigarettes from her handbag, looking a little exhausted, I suddenly felt that these were no longer important. Some people are seemingly pure or considerate, but in reality, they are venomous like snakes, speaking sweet words but harboring evil intentions, like Brenda and Mark. And some people are seemingly indifferent, as if they only care about interests, but in reality, they are more righteous and reliable than anyone else. Victoria looked at my expression and slowly lit a cigarette. You don't need to feel guilty. It was just a small effort. She described a great investment as something trivial. After a long time, I finally smiled with some relief. I just didn't expect that besides my parents, there would be someone else who cared about my life. The police arrived quickly. The surveillance camera recorded everything. Victoria and I were acting in self-defense. And Mark was preparing to kill me to silence me because of my report. Mark didn't even have time to destroy the evidence and was locked up. But I didn't expect that only a week later, Brenda would reappear arrogantly. Ava, you've schemed and plotted, but you can't hurt me even a little bit. How does it feel? Aren't you especially upset? I looked at Ava without any surprise. It seems Mark took it all upon himself. He loves me to death. Brenda touched her newly manicured nails, flaunting them triumphantly. He's never done anything like that for you, has he? Ava, you're so pathetic. He even wanted to kill you. I looked at Brenda and slowly raised the corners of my mouth. Miss Brenda, some things shouldn't be said so absolutely. Brenda's face froze. What do you mean? Miss Brenda, Mark is still under investigation. Even if you cooperated with the investigation and found out about his embezzlement, how did you know he wanted to kill me? The police report hasn't been released yet. I looked at Brenda's increasingly panicked expression and suddenly felt a sense of hunting pleasure. Unless he discussed it with you at the time, or he came to silence me on your instigation. You. A trace of resentment flashed in Brenda's eyes, but the chatter of customers around her quickly woke her up. She sneered and put on a winner's pose again. Ava, you wouldn't have planted another recorder, would you? She crossed her arms and raised her head arrogantly. I haven't admitted anything. Trying to trick me? Keep dreaming. I tapped my fingers on my chin and laughed. Oh, the police couldn't have told you about the recorder. It seems Mark really did discuss it with you. Brenda almost fled, even badly spraining her ankle as she ran. The investigation results came out. Mark's embezzled funds amounted to $8 million. He didn't return the stolen money, nor did he implicate Brenda. I was with Mark for 8 years and knew what kind of person he was. He went from someone who would tremble when giving a PPT presentation to being unafraid of life and death today. Half of that was thanks to me using money to buy him the courage. The other half was thanks to Brenda's love for him. However, Brenda didn't seem to be affected at all. She still acted domineeringly in the company, and my coffee shop had been getting emptier day by day since that day. Sorry, Ava. The company has rules that don't allow us to come here. But I'll still support you secretly. I looked at the messages sent. I understood that the person behind Brenda had made a move. After a week of slow business, this person finally came to me. I looked at the person opposite me, a face full of fat, his eyes constantly wandering over my chest. I instinctively felt disgusted. This Mr. Duncan was as lecherous as ever. However, he must have some brains to have made it to where he is today. Ava, we can be considered old friends. He spoke with a charitable smile, saying words that were flawless. So, I'm here today to give you a reminder from a friend's perspective. I calmly handed him a cup. Please go ahead. The things between you, Mark, and Brenda before caused too much of a stir, which seriously affected the company's reputation. So the group can no longer lease this place to you. He didn't mention Mark's embezzlement at all. It seemed that he was just trying to drive me away because of that insignificant, chaotic relationship. No wonder. I was wondering who had such great power to make the entire company stop patronizing my little store. I slowly raised my head, met his eyes directly, and laughed. So it was you. His eyes darkened, but the smile on his face didn't change. Ava, I'm doing this for your own good. I ignored his intimidation and continued. Back then, the money I was accused of embezzling couldn't have been withdrawn without your signature. And the guarantee that Mark gave to that company couldn't have passed the meeting without your signature. I looked at Mr. Duncan, slowly clenched the hand holding the cup, and knew I had guessed correctly. So, did you take Mark's money or the other company's money? Alas, no wonder you're making such a big move. Rumor has it that you're about to take the position of general manager. You definitely can't leave a hidden danger like me around. Hearing this, the fat on his face twitched, and he immediately withdrew his smile. Ava, what nonsense are you talking about? Abandoning me, someone who can earn several $100 million for the company every year, and choosing Mark, this good-for-nothing, wasn't it because he was easier to control? Mr. Duncan smashed the cup on the ground in anger. He pointed at me angrily, and even the veins on his forehead were bulging. Ava, I think you're crazy. This is slander. I shrugged, not caring about his accusations. Because I knew that 3 years ago he signed that document for 2 reasons. 1, Brenda's influence, and 2, turning a blind eye and choosing someone who was more convenient to help him do things. I'm giving you a week to get the hell out of here. After Mr. Duncan left, I looked at the cup that had fallen on the ground but was still intact, and the corners of my mouth couldn't help but rise. As expected, it's useful to have carpets. The next day, I received a notice of termination of the lease from the property management. I was busy packing my things, while Brenda was very free. She watched me close down the shop the whole time and openly mocked me, even attracting onlookers. She obviously wanted people to know that she, Brenda, was untouchable. Ava, this is the end of your overestimation of your abilities. I raised my eyes and asked, is your ankle better? Brenda's face stiffened, her eyebrows shooting up again. Ava, you're just stubborn. I ignored her arrogance, watching the old lady walk over from a distance, gradually raising my voice. Brenda, I heard you divorced Mark last year. Mind your own business? I smiled. Did you tell Mark that it's better to divide the assets for the safety of the embezzled money? Brenda's eyes darted around. Clearly, her ability to pretend wasn't very good. If I hadn't trusted her so much before, she wouldn't have been able to take advantage of me. So Ms. Brenda, now Mark would rather rot in jail than leave the money to you and your child. TSK, how touching. Brenda sneered, arrogantly saying, you don't need to be jealous, it's just because you can't give birth to a son. I can't give birth? I sneered and asked. Before, Mark and I went for pre-pregnancy checkups, but for the sake of him and his mother's face, I stubbornly kept the results to myself. You. What do you mean? He has oligospermia. Did you know that? Brenda's body stiffened, and when she spoke again, her words were slurred. You're so vicious. Her tone was flustered. Just because Mark doesn't love you, you slander him like this. I've seen a photo of your son. To be honest, he doesn't look like Mark at all. I looked at her and laughed. However, he does look quite like another person. Ava. She frantically stopped my words. But I had no intention of lowering my voice. That person who came here to drink tea, the cup hasn't been thrown away yet. TSK, should I send it to you? Take it for a paternity test. The surrounding discussions grew louder and louder. Mark has been wearing a green hat. Maybe Mark knows too? These two are disgusting. Serves him right for wearing a green hat, scumbag and mistress, neither of them are good people. Now that you mention it, Mark's son does look a bit like that someone. A bit like Mr. Duncan. I've heard for a long time that Brenda and Mr. Duncan have a special relationship. Shoo, Mr. Duncan is about to get promoted, don't let him hear you. I looked at the old lady, frozen in the crowd, and satisfied, sealed the box. Brenda, you can't hide what you've done. I hugged the box, bumped into Brenda, whose face was ashen, and strode towards the parking lot. But as soon as I reached the basement level, I heard a rush of footsteps behind me. I turned back, shocked to see who was chasing after me. Mom! After I said that, I quickly shook my head and changed my address. Auntie, are you looking for me? Mark's mother, my ex-mother-in-law, opened her mouth, a rare expression of shame on her face. Ava, Mom hasn't wronged you before, right? Every time at family gatherings, she complained that I couldn't give birth to a child. She always added that it must be because I had lived with other men before Mark. Every time I gave her something, she always thought it was cheap. But every time Mark gave me something, she always thought it was expensive. Every time after I worked overtime, she ordered me, exhausted, to clean up the dishes they had finished eating. Even when I was sick, she would despise me, saying that I had all the bad habits of city people. But she seemed very satisfied with Brenda, this daughter-in-law. Even if she sent her directly back to the countryside, without giving her a penny for living expenses, she was willing to put up with it, for the sake of her fat grandson. Thinking of these things, I helplessly shook my head. Since Mom hasn't wronged you, can you tell Mom the truth? Is what you said to Brenda just now true? I frowned and didn't speak. But I knew that this hesitant expression was enough for her to understand. The old lady stomped her feet in anger. I knew it. How could my grandson not look like Ching at all? She rushed forward and pounced on me. The cup you mentioned. The cup that can be used for testing, where is it? Seeing my hesitation, she quickly played the emotional card. Ava, just for the sake of the fact that you've called me Mom for so many years, help me, okay? I sighed, and put down the box in my hand. Originally, I wanted to keep this cup as insurance for myself, but since you asked, I reluctantly took out the sealed cup from the box. The old lady snatched it away, but her eyes flashed, revealing cunning. Ava, you're not lying to me, are you? Then give it back to me. The old lady naturally refused. I sighed again and reminded. Actually, if you're not sure, you can just pluck a strand of your own hair, and pluck a strand of your grandson's hair, and go get it tested. The results will come out quickly, and you can still make it in time for Mark's first court hearing. I'll thank you for Mark. No need to thank me, just consider it. Returning your kindness. Ava, you're a good child. Thank you, really thank you. I watched the old lady leave with a heavy heart, and whispered to her back. You're welcome, it's all I should do. A few days later, I received a message from Victoria. Dogs bite dogs. The corners of my mouth curved up, understanding that the old lady's paternity test had come back with results. Mark knew that he was unwittingly becoming a father, and definitely wouldn't let Brenda off, and would definitely drag her down with him. I was about to put down my phone when Victoria's message came again. Come back. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. This person really is economical with words. Although I didn't know what means Victoria used to help me get the coffee shop back. But with the opportunity to watch the fun up close, I definitely wouldn't let it go. Although Brenda's matter hadn't been decided yet, the company had suspended her, awaiting the results of the investigation. And the reason I chose to come back today was to personally witness her departure. Sure enough, when she passed by my shop and saw the open sign, she immediately rushed to the bar in surprise. When she saw me relaxing and carefree, her eyes immediately filled with resentment and unwillingness. Ava, are you satisfied? I rested my chin on my hand, seriously pondered for 3 seconds, and shook my head. If you hadn't wanted to kill me that day, then I should be satisfied with today's ending. Brenda glared at me and said fiercely, Don't be so proud. I'm telling you this isn't over. I widened my eyes and asked with some worry, Do you have a backup plan? She gritted her teeth, just as she was about to speak, but I couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha. What are you laughing at? Shouldn't I be happy that I'm about to get my revenge? Brenda looked at me, her expression changing from incomprehension to contempt. Ava, I just hate you for this appearance. Clearly you're nothing compared to me, but you still act like you're superior. Brenda put the box on the ground, turned around, and showed me her whole body of luxury goods. Ava, open your eyes and look, I'm living much better than you now. The facts prove that you're just born better than me. As long as I work a little harder, I can catch up with you. Although my position isn't as high as yours, I eat, wear and use everything better than you. Brenda got more and more excited as she spoke, her expression wishing she could immediately trample me into the dust. But the criminal record on your body can never be washed away. But Mark has already exposed you. Brenda sneered. So what? If he had evidence, would I be here? Even if I spend a few years in jail, after I come out, the house and money will still be mine. I looked at Brenda's arrogant appearance, unhurriedly pressed the water boiling button. Boss, when will my order be ready? The delivery guy urged impatiently. Hurry up and leave, don't delay my business. I rolled my eyes at Brenda, and started folding filter paper. Brenda, how you live is your business. How Mark treats you is his business. I can't control any of these things, and I don't want to. But that money, those cars and houses, they shouldn't have been yours in the first place. You stole my things, and you should pay the price. Brenda frowned, looking like she thought I was crazy. Clearly she had already revealed her trump card. Why was I still so confident saying this? But soon she understood. You bitch. The old lady rushed over angrily, and directly grabbed Brenda's hair. My Aching treated you so well. How could you be so heartless? Brenda wanted to defend herself. Mom. You. Don't be fooled by her. Little bitch. If you didn't have a guilty conscience, why would you be hiding from me? The old lady was still strong, grabbing Brenda and shaking her back and forth. I and the delivery guy, afraid of getting caught in the crossfire, quickly hid far away, joining the crowd of onlookers. Brenda, driven mad by the beating, finally started fighting back. You old hag, I've put up with you for so long. Who do you think you are? You actually cuckolded my son. Your son can't produce an heir. I'm giving you a grandson, you should be thanking me. They each said their piece, fighting with gusto. Ava, aren't you afraid they'll smash up your stall? I shrugged and smiled at the onlookers beside me. Consider it my treat, for you all to watch a show. We were watching with great interest when we saw the old lady suddenly pick up my hot water kettle used for pour-over coffee. Don't touch that. The words were barely out of my mouth when the kettle of hot water was poured over Brenda's head, even the lid flying off. Brenda was taken away by ambulance, and everyone was still in shock. That's so scary. She's probably disfigured, right? I didn't respond, but looked at the scattered coffee beans and shook my head with a little heartache. This accident resulted in moderate burns to Brenda's face. More importantly, while receiving treatment, she received an arrest warrant. Mark wasn't an easy target either. After finding out his son wasn't his, he went all out to bring Brenda down with him. He racked his brains in prison, and finally remembered he had screenshots of their cloud chat logs. The screenshots not only showed Brenda knew about Mark taking kickbacks, but also contained evidence of their conspiracy to frame me. The police followed the clues and also found a video recording in Brenda's cloud of Mr. Duncan implying the company could provide illegal guarantees. Even more dramatically, the video was originally recording Mr. Duncan and Brenda's passionate moment. The three grasshoppers pushing each other finally snapped the rope that bound them together. On the day Mark was convicted, Victoria pulled some strings to take me to see Brenda. She lay in the hospital bed, her eyes dull, all her former arrogance gone. The doctor said that the scalding from the boiling water wouldn't have been this severe, but her face had already been scratched to shreds by Mark's mother. This was undoubtedly the heaviest blow for her, who wanted to profit from her beauty. Not going in to gloat? I shook my head helplessly. There's no need anymore. Victoria looked at me for a few seconds, then suddenly said, "That hot water kettle." I shrugged, not answering directly. The police officer had asked me this question when I gave my statement at the police station. Was the hot water kettle deliberately left there? I shook my head repeatedly, nervously. I explained to them that the pour-over coffee was ordered by a customer, and the order and payment records could prove it. Moreover, this coffee bean had to be brewed between 90 and 92 degrees Celsius. Even if I had planned it, I couldn't have controlled when the customer would order, let alone that specific coffee. Police officers, you must believe me. Everything I said is true. My kettle has been there since I opened, and nothing like this has ever happened. I don't need to ruin my own reputation. I'm losing a lot with this happening in my store. As I said this, my eyes flickered, and sure enough, that small movement was noticed by the experienced officer opposite me. Are you hiding something? I'll tell you the truth. I gritted my teeth and confessed. I really hated Brenda before. After all, she framed me 3 years ago, sending me to prison, and now she's trying to mess with me again. So I secretly hid Mr. Duncan's cup thinking when I could screw them over, but I didn't expect Mark's mother to come to me that day, and I softened my heart and gave it to her. So, does this count as me indirectly causing what happened today? Am I an accomplice? The person interrogating me looked confused. I don't understand. So I told them everything, how Brenda entered the group headquarters with my help 3 years ago, how Mark became a manager's assistant from a salesman with my help. Then how the two hooked up and worked together to send me to jail. Then how I discovered that Mr. Duncan was having an affair with Brenda. And then, Mark's mother came to me. I reported everything to them in detail. The 2 police officers were stunned. They drank 3 big glasses of water. If the circumstances allowed, they probably would have wanted popcorn. In the middle, when I talked about hearing the news of their marriage and birth of a child while I was sewing in prison, even the recorder's eyes turned red. After my statement was completed, the 2 police officers personally escorted me out. They held my hand and sincerely comforted me. Miss Ava, there is still a lot of good waiting for you in the future. Keep it up. After hearing all this, Victoria tilted her head and looked at me, wondering what she was thinking. What? Regret helping me? Yeah. I thought you would kill them. Victoria glanced at her watch and said coldly, let's go, it's almost time. My second stop was the prison, the same visiting room, but this time, I was the one sitting outside. I didn't expect you to come. Mark looked at me, his eyes full of vicissitudes. He had lost a lot of weight in the past few months, and even his sideburns had turned white. Ava, I was blinded by that bitch Brenda before. Mark touched the glass, tears streaming down his face. Lately, I keep thinking about our past days. I quietly looked at Mark, listening to his confession. In his words, the marriage where he only took and never gave was beautified into a happy and perfect one. People probably only realize how precious what they had was after they lose it. Ava, will you forgive me? I nodded without hesitation. The surprise in Mark's eyes gradually turned into joy. Ava, I didn't expect. I just regret being blind back then. Mark's subsequent words were blocked by me. Mark, you have already been punished. There is no need for me to hate you anymore. And I raised the corner of my mouth, unable to wait to see his enraged expression. Also, the sample for your son's paternity test was switched by me. The surprise in his eyes turned into shock again, followed by anger. So he's not. He is my son. Ava, you're despicable. You bitch. He began to hurl all kinds of vicious words at me. Even as he was dragged away by the prison guards, he was still screaming and crying. I listened to all this, but I wasn't angry at all. After all, Mark had hammered himself to death. The final verdicts for his and Brenda's cases had already been issued. On the way back, Victoria was a little puzzled. Why did you have to add that last sentence? He won't repent for his crimes, but that sentence can make him suffer for the rest of his life. Victoria stared at me for a long time before saying, replacing the test sample is very difficult. At least I don't have that ability. She looked at me, seemingly wanting to see some flaw in me. So who is the father of the child? I shrugged and smiled. The child is innocent, isn't he? She didn't continue, but handed me 2 document bags. It's been a pleasant collaboration. One is a long-term lease, and one is a job offer. I weighed them and asked with a smile, which one do you want me to choose? I need a helper. I shrugged and returned the job offer to her. I've had enough of workplace infighting. She wasn't angry, but instead raised the corner of her mouth. I guessed as much. I opened the lease and was stunned. The title deed? My private property. She took out a cigarette, her face expressionless. Open a branch, consider me an investor. But the land is in my mother's name, so you don't have to worry about any problems. All right, boss. I took out a document bag from my bag and handed it over. A gift for you. This time it was her turn to be stunned. She opened it in surprise, flipping through the photos inside one by one. I heard that your father suddenly has a son, and I guessed you might need my help. I raised my eyebrows at her and extended an invitation. Collaborate, boss? Victoria was silent for a few seconds, put out her cigarette, and stepped on the gas. Happy to work together. Bonus chapter. The day Victoria was appointed Deputy General Manager of the group, everyone outwardly congratulated and praised her. But in reality, few people agreed. What makes her think she deserves it? A paratrooper. Probably someone's little secretary. She's alright looking. Pretty? She's definitely had work done. Victoria froze with her hand on the door. She didn't rely on her family, and climbed to this position through her own hard work, not to endure these criticisms. Just as she was about to push open the door, she heard another voice from inside. Ms. Victoria is a Columbia University master's graduate, and has a doctorate from Harvard Business School. Go and find out how much revenue she generated at her previous company. The speaker disapprovingly scolded. Don't always think that someone who's better than you is just using some special means. We were just saying it casually. Spreading false rumors is the easiest way to destroy a person. We're all women, you should be happy that there's finally a fellow countryman in senior management, instead of talking nonsense out of jealousy. Yeah, I know I was wrong, Sister Ava. Victoria retracted her hand from the door, a slight smile forming at the corner of her lips. From that day on, she remembered that person, Ava. Ava got sentenced. When Victoria heard this news, she felt a little regretful. This woman, although kind, didn't have very good judgment. 3 years later, when she saw Ava again, she suddenly felt that something about her was different. Especially her eyes, which had gained a bit more fortitude. Miss Victoria, should I approve it? The boss behind it is Ava. Victoria tapped her fingers and smiled, which was rare. She had been waiting for this day for a long time.